All right. Hello to everyone that has joined us this evening. We have a few people here, so let's get started. Before we get started, I'm going to see if I can help Greta get onto the conference call the right way here through her computer. She probably can't hear us yet. So let me see if I can help.
I don't want her to hear
you. You don't?
No.
Do you know Greta?
Yeah, I've lived with her for 45 years.
Oh, okay. So you just want to leave her. You just want to leave her silent there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We got to fix her P-list for her
battery or going to sleep.
For the Wi-Fi. Remember?
Yeah. Okay, we can do that. All right. Yep. All right. Well, let's get started with Bob. Bob, because you started with your camera here. How are you this evening? What can I help you with?
I'm not sure what applications it happens on. At least, maybe a couple others. The screen will suddenly magnify. And it'll view 100%, and then it goes back to where it was.
Yeah, there's a hopefully easy fix to that. There's a key command, by the way, Bob, that's assigned to your computer that if you trigger this key command, it will blow the screen up. It's meant for people like myself whose eyesight is starting to go in their old age, and you want to be able to zoom in and see the screen in a really large fashion. But oftentimes people accidentally trigger that. So let's look at...
I don't wear these glasses to just look at them.
Yeah, I'm getting there myself. So let's see if we can find where that is. It should be under accessibility in system preferences. And I'll tell anybody listening tonight, I will record this, so I'll go a little quick so that we have time for everybody's questions. But if I go too fast, you can always go back to my website and look at the recorded version here.
Click on accessibility.
Now we go to accessibility, we go to display. Now I'm looking at 10.8, which is a little different than 10.7, but let's see, here it is under zoom. So if you wanted, you could use the zoom feature, and there are keyboard commands right here. In this case, it's I think it's shift control to be able to do it, but you can change that. So should we take a look at...
You have to have my hands on the keyboard and it will enlarge.
You might be doing it with your mouse then. There's a way to use your mouse to increase it or decrease it.
Okay, I seem to have messed up. System preferences, accessibility,
zoom.
display.
No, under that should be zoom, yeah. Check that and look at your settings there.
Nothing is checked.
Nothing is checked?
Nothing.
Let's see. I wonder if you are talking... I wonder if instead of it enlarging, you're maybe accessing something called mission control. Does it look... Let me see if I can trigger it on this machine. Does it look sort of like that? Does it do some odd things? I don't know if you can see my screen doing this. Like that a little bit? Let me bring in some windows so you can kind of...
Screen graphic in the background of the black screen.
What's that?
Okay, there's a black window, and inside of it is almost like an obelisk shell in gray.
Yeah, that's my desktop. And then on my desktop, I have different windows, and I'm using a feature called Mission Control to be able to increase and decrease the size of these windows. I'm wondering if what I'm doing is trying to show you this example to see if this is what you're talking about. No? Doesn't ring a bell?
Have you shown me something?
Yeah, but maybe it's not going through. Yeah, no, okay, it's not going through then.
One thing else appears, it just the screen magnifies. I just get tied in like 50% larger.
Well, that's under those display settings. That's under accessibility in those the ability to increase or decrease the size of the screen. And you're triggering it somehow, either with a keyboard command and your mouse moving. Like for instance, if you held down a certain key and you moved your mouse up and down, that would increase and decrease the size of the screen.
I'm not touching the keyboard usually when that happens. I may have my hands on the mouse, otherwise I'd just be sitting here listening to music.
I'm pretty sure that it's not just happening on its own. And when I say pretty sure, I mean 100% sure. So there is something that a human being is doing that's causing it to happen. Now there's a setting that we're not aware of. Usually that's under the accessibility settings like we looked at. But let me think about it, Bob, and see if I can find another thing, and I'll come back around to you. Let's move to Daryl next. Daryl, what can I do for you this evening? Do we want to jump right over to Greta's issue?
No, I started an update. I'm sorry, Scotty. I've got a couple of questions, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
On the iPhone,
Yeah?
there is a feature that when the phone is ringing, you can send somebody a standard message.
Yeah, that's right.
Could you go through that for me, please?
Well, there are presets that you can assign. For instance, I'm oftentimes in a session. So when one of my family members calls me, I don't want to answer the phone when I'm in a session because that would be rude and not very profitable either. So I have gone and I've set up pre-assigned responses back. And so let me show you that first. If we go into settings, let's see if I can find where that is. It's going to take me a second to figure out where it is. Let's see. Maybe it's under messages.
Notifications?
Yeah, maybe. If you see it before me, by all means, holler out. Let me see if I can find it. But it's in here somewhere, maybe under general. Let's see. Responses. Restrictions. Sorry that I can't think of it right off the top of my head of where it is, but it's in here somewhere. Let's see, maybe... Let's see. Sorry for the delay. I don't see it here either. Well, Google is our friend. I've done it, so I know it's there. I just can't find it.
Phone. Try phone.
Phone under the in notifications?
No, just try phone right there. Reply with messages.
I don't see where you're talking about. Oh, okay.
Okay, go down.
Got it.
Phone.
And
Reply
let's...
with messages.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there it is, right there. So you were right. So this is where you would set up your 2 or 3 different auto responds. You found it. So if you're following along, it's under settings, under phone, then in reply with message. Thank you, Daryl. And see, I've got one that says I'm currently in a session, which means if somebody calls me, then I respond to that. Now, the way to trigger that is when someone calls. Daryl, can you call me real quick on your phone?
Yeah, hold on. I would need to know how to add stuff to that.
Well, there's a couple by default that are there, and then the 3 that we just looked at, the 3 blanks, are where you would add it. So you just click on it and type in the message that you want. Obviously, I am currently in a session is not something that the phone comes with. It's something that I added. So here you've called me, and I want to hit the phone icon in the bottom right-hand corner, and if I slide that up, then I can choose to reply with a message. And now I have a choice of what I want to say, and I'm going to say I'm currently in a session to you. Now you just got a text automatically back. So the trick is when somebody calls you, you have that little phone icon in the bottom right-hand corner. Okay?
Okay, so I just got a message from you.
Yeah. Does that help?
Can't talk right now. I'm currently in a session.
There we go. So if I wanted to change that from I can't talk right now, I'm currently to please leave me alone, then I would go back into my settings. I'd go down to that in the settings. I go to that whole little phone area that you found for us, and then into the reply with messages, and then I would select it and I would look around and search around until I found what I wanted to say, and I would type it. Okay?
Great. Okay.
All right, let's move. Did you have a follow-up on that, Daryl? That we needed to...
I've got a couple more, but I'll wait my turn again.
All right, let's jump over to David. David R., what's going on this evening? Can you hear us, David? Are you in? Okay, what's up?
So I have a question. It just popped up on your screen, too. So up from the notification center,
Yeah.
And I always just slide it away.
Yeah.
I've looked in notifications and I've looked in software update and settings and said don't check and everything, but it still always comes up. I want to know if there's a way to get rid of that notification.
When you find that, David, please let me know. There is a way that, in theory, you're supposed to be able to do it. And I've gotten it to work on one of my Macs, but not all of my Macs. And that is that within your store here, the App Store, if you go, now this, I found that this works inconsistently for me. But if you go into the App Store and you look under your updates, if you're following along, if you right-click on a certain update, there should be the ability to say, please don't tell me any more within the little notification pop-up. So here's one quick slide that I don't care about. Let's see, where is that? There's a place that you're supposed to be able to right-click in here. And this is the computer that I can't get it to work on. So it might work on yours, it might not. And I don't want to choose.
I'll try it out.
Yeah, but I'm looking for that myself, David. So if you find it, please email me and let me know if you find it that it's consistent on more than one Mac. All right.
All right, sounds good.
Bob, let's go back and let's do a little bit more searching around and see if we can find ways that that it defaults to magnify. Let's see.
It doesn't really default to it. It just does that on its own after regularly.
I mean the default.
On my Magic Mouse, Scotty, if I rub the right-hand side of the mouse, it kind of blows up on me. It kind of gives a big zoom.
But is that within now? Maybe, Bob, is this zooming happening within a web page or is it happening full screen on the entire Mac? So, Daryl, you may have hit it on the head. I think. Let me ask you this, Daryl: do you have a trackpad or do you have a mouse?
I have a Magic Mouse, yeah.
I meant to ask Bob. Bob, what?
I've got a Magic Mouse.
Okay, all right. I bet that.
There's nothing on the right-hand side.
Let's try this, Bob. How about, let's jump over, I think we have the explanation here. I think you nailed it there. I was thinking of something else. Bob, let's go over and look at your screen. And you'll see a request to share my screen.
Excuse me, won't you?
And then you'll allow that and let us see it. I think Daryl is batting 1,000 tonight. I think he just hit it on the head. I don't think it's your entire screen that's blowing up, Bob. I think it's certain applications, the content within an application. Would you open up Safari?
Primarily email, as I recall. I'm not sure it's only email, but
well,
primarily.
Open up Safari for us first. And go to a web page like CNN.com or something. Okay.
There.
All right. Once you're on a website, take 2 fingers. Not 1 finger, but take 2 fingers and lightly, don't click the mouse, but lightly touch the mouse with 2 fingers. And let's see if we can make this happen. Like dut dut with 2 fingers. No, try it with 1 finger. Dut dut with 1 finger.
I may be tapping a little bit too hard, but it just enlarged.
Oh, okay. So,
There you go.
yeah. Okay, so what you're doing is, Bob, what Apple is trying to do is make the computer that we use more like the iPad and the iPhone. On the iPad, you can double tap an area and it increases that size, and you double tap to bring it back. Now, I don't mean click. I mean a tap with the mouse. One of the faults of Apple is that they design these products so slickly that you don't see that there's an ability to actually just touch that piece of plastic, and that's a response, or that's a command. So with your arrow or your cursor in this area, do it again, double tap again, dut dut with 2 finger or 1 finger, I think it is, and
Tried that, but it isn't going back.
okay, then let's try Daryl. Let's try Daryl's other choice of squeezing, like pinching in with 2 fingers. Let's see if that will work. I don't think that works on the Magic Mouse, though.
No, it doesn't.
1 left and 1 right?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, it's either a double tap with 1 finger or a double tap with 2 fingers. I bet you that's what it is.
again, you said that repeating that action should take it back,
That's right, it should.
but it doesn't.
Uh,
Got it to enlarge, but haven't gotten it to go back.
You got to catch the right spot.
yeah, move it around a couple different areas and see if you can get it there.
What happened there?
And again, it's not a click. It's not a physical click. You should not be actually clicking your mouse. You should be
You looking at the screen?
yes, I am. Move your mouse down into the white area on the left-hand side of that. And I can tell you, okay, now you just triggered what's called mission control. Used to be called expose. You just triggered that. So click on the, actually do a physical click now to bring the window back to us. A physical click. There you go. Okay. Now, don't do a physical click. Move your mouse into the white area of the web page, and let's try one finger first. With one finger, do 2 light taps. Tap, tap. All right. If that doesn't work, try 2 fingers. Tap, tap.
No, that took it down.
Ah, there we go. Okay. So you've got to just get used to that, or we can turn that off, I believe, too.
I just soon turn it on.
All right, well, let's go to System Preferences. So under the black apple, choose System Preferences. And, well, before you turn it off, let's go back and bring that back. In other words, get the web page back to the small size that you're used to it being. It's not physically clicking, remember. It's just a light tap. You're just touching the plastic.
Got it.
Okay, so back to System Preferences. You can actually close Safari now. And we're about 5 seconds behind you on your screen, so excuse me if I ask you to do something you've already done. All right, so now in System Preferences, let's go to Mouse, which is the second line, 5th item. There you go. And let's see if we can turn off that sensitivity. Smart Zoom, there you go. So uncheck that, and you'll no longer be able to do that. All right?
No.
Thank you, Daryl.
Where's Smart Zoom? I can't see it.
Nailed it, Daryl. Okay, so we got
Where
that.
is it, Scotty? I don't see it.
It's on his System Preferences there. It's the 3rd item. I can see it. He's got scroll direction, secondary click, and then he had Smart Zoom. All right?
Oh, there it is. Okay, got it.
All right. Let's jump over to Imaday that just showed up. Imaday, how are you this evening?
Hi, good, thank you.
What can I do for you?
I can't got anything specific right this minute. I'm just going to listen for it.
All right. Well, we're just going to keep on moving because we got people. We're just going round and round trying to answer questions best we can. Bob, we just solved that one. So let's move back over to Daryl. And Daryl, do you want to address the Greta issue now?
Yeah, let's go with Greta.
All right. Can we take a look at her screen?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. Is her screen near you?
I'm standing right here.
Okay, great. Well, we should have an item to share the screen now. You should see that on your screen. And let's minimize that Safari window. And this is refresh my memory, Daryl. What is our issue? I totally forgot.
Our issue is that she drops her Wi-Fi connection a lot.
Okay. All right. All right. So what we want to do, and I talked to Daryl about this earlier, what we want to do is go down into the bowels of the operating system and remove some possibly corrupt files that could be causing the Wi-Fi to fall off all the time. So are you driving this right now, Daryl, or is Greta driving this?
I'm driving.
Okay, open up a Finder window. And let's go to the word Go in the top of the menu bar, and let's choose Computer. All right, now we're going to go to Macintosh HD, and now we're going to go to Library.
Sorry.
Thank you. And now let's go down to Preferences.
Oh, see what happened?
Yeah, you triggered Mission Control. So let's go to Preferences. And now we're going to scroll all the way down to a folder called System Configuration. All right, and select that folder for us so we can see the contents. It's a blue folder called System Configuration. It's second from the bottom.
Got it.
All right. Now, here's a little secret, although don't hold me to it. All of these preferences in here are deletable with very little harm. But if you just go in and you randomly delete these, there are a couple of things that you have to know to reset. But for our purposes, we're not going to delete all of them. We're going to delete ones that are possibly causing the problem. So the first one that you have here is airport, com.apple.airport. So select that one and then hold the command key down so we can select more than one.
This one?
Yep, select it one time. And now hold the command key down so we can select more than that. Go down to about the fifth or fourth one down, and we have network and network. Select both of those.
Both of these?
That's exactly right. And then the last one we're going to select is network interfaces, which is below that. There we go. And you know what? Let's, for the heck of it, select preferences. But when we select preferences, there's something that we're going to have to do. Okay. Now, Command Delete to throw that away. Okay, you have a little bit of homework now, and that is to restart that computer, and then we're going to go and do part 2 of this, okay? All right. Let's see. Imade, do you have anything on your mind yet that you can think of?
Well, I was trying to read directions about Flip for Mac.
Yeah.
And I really don't understand whether I've joined it or not joined it or what you do with it or anything else. But I bought it a long time ago. I just don't understand.
All right. I bet that everything's fine on your Mac. But what Flip for Mac is, and we've talked about this before, Flip for Mac is a program that is made by a company called Telestream that I believe Microsoft bought, that gives us the ability, us, when I say us, I mean Apple users, it gives us Apple users the ability to see Windows Media video files. So sometimes my brother from his work will send me a Windows video file that my Mac can't read. And the suffix for that is usually, and I'll write it down here, .mv, MWV, Windows, or is it, what is it? David, you know what it's,
WMV.
yeah, WMV, something like that.
WMV.
Yeah. Anyway, these little files, these WMV files, get sent to us by Windows users, and we can't look at them. So our program that we like to use on our computers is called QuickTime. QuickTime opens a lot of things. So there are always two things that I bring up when we talk about opening these odd files that come to us. A, that's Flip for Mac, and B, something called VLC. So it's a good thing to have both of them. Now, Flip for Mac is different than VLC. Flip for Mac is a little, what's called a plug-in that actually converts it within QuickTime. VLC is a standalone program. So let's jump over to your screen, Imade, and let's see if you have Flip for Mac installed the correct way. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
All right, so here comes a request for us to see your screen. So Flip for Mac is not an application. It's a plugin that lets our program called QuickTime understand those WMV files. So if you would go to your system preferences, Imade, you can do that under the black apple. Yep, there you go, or within your dock. Now, you see that bottom line where it says Flip for Mac?
Yes.
That means that Flip for Mac is installed and it's healthy and it's running. Now, in a couple weeks or a couple months, you might get a notification that says, hey, Flip for Mac needs to be updated, but that's totally fine. In other words, if I was to send you this video file, a WMV file, because maybe I'm a Windows user and I want to show you this dog on the skateboard that somebody sent to me, then, and it's a WMV file, then when you click it, QuickTime will convert it because Flip for Mac is giving its little translation tool to it, okay?
Okay, the only thing when I was reading all these things I printed off, it was saying if you don't enter it correctly, then you may have to take it off and re-enter it.
No,
and I didn't know what it was talking about.
No, you're fine. Flip for Mac shows as what's called a system preference pane, and that's what we're looking at right now. All of these little programs, or all these little squares here that or pictures, are what are called preference panes, and Flip for Mac is installed correctly. It's fine. So you don't.
Okay, well, I'll have another question when I come around again.
Okay, all right. David R., did you have something else that we needed to hit?
Well, one thing is, I think what you were looking for earlier, because I Googled it, is you click in the App Store, you click like show more on, you click show more, then right click each of the options. But I mean, I don't know if that's going to work consistently, but it worked on mine.
It did. So if you go under the show more, and it was within the show more area. Let's take a look at that.
Well, yeah, go to updates.
All right, removing update notifications. So let's see, under updates in the App Store on your Mac.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit behind, so I can't see it quite yet.
And then there's a
click more.
Yeah.
More. Under
Yeah.
software update.
Yeah.
Click more.
Yeah.
Then right click just like the title of each of them or whatever.
It's not working. Ah, there we go. Hide update.
Update.
Yeah, that's it. Awesome.
And you have to do that for each of them.
However, I don't know if the software, if the actual operating system software update can be hidden. But yeah, you're right. You found it.
When you delete all the other ones.
Yeah, that's a good find. All right, David, did you have a question or something else? And you're helping me. Everybody's helping me tonight.
What are we talking about? I'm confused.
Okay, let me go back and kind of talk to Imide. Imide, do you see on my screen right now, the top right-hand corner of my screen, there's a little window over here. It says updates available.
Yeah.
You probably see that on your computer. I see it on mine. David sees it on his. Lots of people see that. Well, David's question was, how can we hide these from popping up all the time, constantly popping up? And he gave us an answer, which we just talked about, going through the App Store and doing a right click, and that was the ability to hide it. For most of us, though, most of us just run the updates when you see it, or maybe ignore them once or twice and then run them. That's a healthier way to do it. But that's what he was talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, David, what's your next issue?
Alright, so I have like a camera, and it's an older like Canon EOS digital camera, but I like it. But it has this, I'll show you. It has this flash thing instead of a memory card. And is there a way I can get an adapter or anything to be able to put this into the MacBook to get pictures off of it?
Yeah, absolutely. There are adapters. There's, let's see, here, right here.
This isn't like a flash card. This is like a big one.
Yeah, that's a compact flash. So yeah, you can get these little. Now this is just as you see here. This is a USB adapter for a flash card, but they absolutely make them. What you're looking for then is called compact flash. It's a larger.
Okay, that's what it said on it.
Yeah, it's a larger file type or file. It's a larger storage medium. You just can't use obviously an SD card. You just have to get a USB adapter for compact flash, and you could find that real easily. Let's go to the internet right now and let's type in compact flash USB adapter, and there they are. All right, all right. Let's go. Let's go back to Bob, and then we'll get to Daryl after that. Bob, did you have another issue coming up?
Yeah, and probably the last one. My wife's MacBook Air says, gets a message apparently frequently. Well, this is embarrassing. Firefox is having trouble recovering your windows and tabs. This is usually caused by a recently opened web page. You can try removing one or more tabs that you think may be causing a problem, or starting an entirely new browsing session.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and the whole little, this is embarrassing, that's just their little fun way of saying, hey, something has happened, there's a problem here. You see that more and more with websites and things, but Firefox is come up with a problem. Most likely there are multiple tabs open, and one of those tabs or one of those windows within Firefox is having a problem. Let me ask you this, though. Your wife has a MacBook Air, and she's using Firefox. Could we convince her to look at another browser as a different choice?
Probably.
There are basically 3 flavors of browsers that everybody uses on the Mac. Firefox, Chrome, and Safari. Safari is already on her computer, and I think that she'd be happy with that. Firefox, she downloaded from the internet, and Firefox is okay, but they're in 3rd place right now, in my opinion. And then there's Chrome. Chrome is made by Google. So
She does have the Google Chrome icon and was wondering what the heck she's supposed to do with it.
there's just 3 different browsers. And the whole reason there are multiple browsers is because when you do a search, somebody, even if you don't pay anything, if you don't do anything with money on the internet, when you do a search on the internet, somebody got some money. So if I do a search for boots and I'm using Safari and I am looking at these ads, Safari got me there. Now, while they're Google's ads, Safari got me there. So Google says, well, man, why are we having to pay Apple a little bit of money? And when I say money, I mean like a fraction of a cent. But as many people search every day for something, if it takes you, here's Amazon right now, this big advertisement right there. So with these advertisements that come up, the browser gets the credit for getting you there. So Firefox, that's how Firefox makes money. That's how they're in business. Mozilla is the company that makes Firefox. So you have basically 3 different browsers to choose from: Firefox, Safari, Chrome. So instead of us solving the Firefox problem, I would suggest looking at a different browser, honestly.
How does she make Chrome her default browser?
Good question. Well, all of these browsers are usually pretty good at when you open them, they usually ask you, oh, hey, would you like us to be the browser? Because the company that makes them wants to trick you into using them. So would you like us to be the default browser? So the easy thing to do when you open up Chrome, let me see if I don't know if I have Chrome installed on this computer. Yeah, I do. I never open Chrome on this computer, so who knows what we're going to see here. But there is a...
On my Mac too?
Well, what you want to do is play around and see what browser you like the most. You should make the choice on what browser you use. But within Chrome, and this is going to be the same with all of them, within Chrome, under the word Chrome, there's going to be a preferences area, and there it is. We should see the ability to set it as the default browser. Let's see if we can find where it is. There it is, right there at the bottom. Make Google Chrome my default browser. So if I clicked on that, if somebody sent me a link in an email, and I clicked on it, all of a sudden Chrome would open up. I personally use Safari mostly, so there you go. All right?
Okay, thank you.
Daryl, let's jump over and let's see if we can address this last little issue here in this Wi-Fi.
I have a network fan, but it is light, it's not dark.
That's correct. And the reason that is because the preferences that we threw away a little while ago, Daryl, on your on this MacBook, on this portable, we threw away the preference saying, which network do I join? Now, we didn't throw away the passwords. Those are still there. So just go to the go to the airport network and rejoin your own network. So do that first. And what we're doing is we're rebuilding these Wi-Fi settings. I'm having problems talking tonight. Okay, are you on the network now? Okay, now I'd like you to go to your system preferences and go to the system preference called sharing. Okay?
Sharing.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
All right, now you'll see that yours is just like mine. You see it says computer name and it's blank?
Yeah.
That's no good. We need to put that name back in. We threw the name away when we threw those files away. So click in that window and call that Mac whatever you want to call it. And then just save that. All right?
Yeah.
Lastly, let's do one more thing here. Go into, and this is just for the heck of it, go into, let me get my brain in gear with this next part. Where am I going to take you? Network. Third line, go to your network settings. And I don't have to see your computer to do this. But in your network settings, you should see a little gear switch in the bottom right. Chris, we'll get to you in just a second. You see that little gear switch? I'm sorry, bottom left. Select service order. Now you see on my computer, and it might be on yours as well, Wi-Fi is at the bottom. We don't want Wi-Fi at the bottom. What this is this is the order of operations for the computer to join a network. Right now, my computer is looking for Bluetooth first, and then it's looking for Ethernet, FireWire, then Wi-Fi. I'm going to take Wi-Fi, and I'm going to drag it to the top. Once I drag Wi-Fi to the top, now that's the super user. That's the super command. It goes for Wi-Fi first, okay?
Okay.
And that's it. Now your homework is to try the computer and use it on that network and see if it falls off Wi-Fi. All right?
Okay, thanks Scotty.
All right, Chris, you're next. What have we got for you?
Wow, I was just curious as to a situation that I find myself in because my daughter just got her own Apple ID, and up to now she's had, her or most of the either apps that she's gotten for her iPad or her iTouch or whatever.
Yeah.
Come off of my Apple ID and purchased it that way. Is there any way to, as you say, Apple IDs can't be merged? Well, there you have it.
Yeah, it's one of it's probably the top 3 questions.
Can you transfer either songs or anything or what?
Yes, you can. This can turn into a lengthy discussion, but I'll try to answer it as quickly and with.
Well, I don't want them to necessarily be merged. I just want to take off hers off mine and put it onto hers.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be done. So let me kind of preface this with the opening of the conversation. I have this conversation probably 3 times a day, and so I've gotten pretty good at it. But I'll just give you the town hall version here. Everyone in the world has 2 relationships with Apple. Everyone, whether it's a child, an adult, everybody that uses an Apple product has 2 relationships. And I'm going to use my phone on the screen to give you the example. The first relationship is your data relationship. So if I go into settings and I look at iCloud, that ID, and we look at an email address, in my case, it's sales@mac.com. That is not an email address as far as Apple's concerned. That's a serial number as far as they're concerned. It's just a unique set of numbers and letters that mean you. That's in charge of my contacts, my calendars, my pictures. In other words, personal data. Then we have a second relationship with Apple, and that is financially in the iTunes store, who we purchase as. So what I'm hearing that you have just said is you are giving your daughter her own financial relationship with Apple. Oftentimes what I do is I will tell a family, if your child is under 16, and this just varies depending on what the family's decision is, but generally I say if your child's under 16, give them their own data relationship, in iCloud. Give them their own data relationship. Let them text with their friends, their own stuff there, but leave them in your financial relationship until they're either around 16 or they have their own method of generating income and kind of leaving the nest kind of thing. But if you like them having their own financial ID for whatever reason, then yes, you can share that stuff. But it becomes the exact same relationship that you and I have. Just people that know each other. There's no such thing as family Apple IDs unless it's all the same Apple ID. So if you and I now want to share content with each other, what has to happen is you come over to my computer and plug your device up, and I can then, within iTunes, I've got iTunes open here, transfer purchases. And I don't know if I'm answering the question, but I'm just going to give you several pieces of information here that might help. So I go over to your house. I plug up my phone to your computer, and now I'm going to transfer purchases. So I think it's under File in iTunes. Let's see where it is. There it is. And under Devices, they've moved it around. And transfer purchases. Now what that then does is that essentially steals the stuff that I purchased, and it puts it onto your computer. Now, if you go to play the content that I purchased on your computer, because it's a different Apple ID, you have to authorize your iTunes library or your computer. Now, I only have 5 computers that can be authorized. So your daughter, who's starting out with 1 Apple ID, she's a new user. So she has 5 computers that she can authorize. And when I say computer, I mean a computer, not an iPhone or an iPad. So, and I can tell you more in the licensing issue in a second there. But that's what happens. So after that content gets transferred over into that other user, then it can be moved to another iPhone or iPad. Does that help a little bit?
Okay, so say she has her own computer.
Yeah.
And, which means she has her own library on the computer as far as her apps or movies or music, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I want to, I guess, take.
I know what you're asking before you ask it.
Okay.
If you look at my iTunes library on this screen right here, you see that down in the middle here, shared, there are 2 more computers in my house.
Right.
I have a computer in my kitchen, and I have another computer sitting over here. So notice that these little icons are houses, however. That's because I have home sharing turned on. And that's what you need to do with your daughter's computer. Am I answering? I think I'm answering the question the right way.
She can access any music on my computer.
That's right. The trick is,
yeah.
under home sharing, you have to choose one identity. She can't log into home sharing under her Apple ID, and you log into home sharing under your Apple ID. There has to be one supreme home sharing user in the house. And let's say that's you. So you go under, where's home sharing? I want to say it's under file. Yeah, under file again and home sharing. So under file and home sharing, you have to choose one Apple ID that reigns supreme on all the computers. This is not with who's purchasing things. I could log in, I could move into your house for 2 weeks, bring this computer with me, and log in under your Apple ID with home sharing. Now, this computer that I'm using right now would have to be authorized as one of yours, but then I could see all of the content that you purchased. You can see all the content that I've purchased, and you can go and take all that you want. If home sharing is not turned on, this little house is not a house. It's more like a little purplish square icon. And then you can only see their content and play it, but you can't take it from them. Now the way it looks, I can select it and take it from them. Go ahead.
When you say take, do you mean basically copy it onto yours?
Yeah. So my 17-inch iTunes library is open over here to the left of me, and there's the stuff. And let's see, here's a song that I want. Now, it's on my 17-inch. It's not on my computer that I'm working right now. So I take that song, I found it in my 17-inch library, and I could even hit the triangle and drag down and see even more detail. Maybe they're movies that I'm looking for. But now that I see that, I take it, drag it, and I'm essentially stealing a copy of it, and I'm going to drop it into that area in the top left-hand corner, and that creates a new copy on my hard drive, so that regardless if the 17-inch is on, I have a second copy on my computer.
And so is that considered on the second computer's iTunes library?
Yes. So,
okay. And so if we get even more complicated, can she then take any of those songs and then put them on her own iPhone or whatever?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my understanding is part of it is what library you log or what Apple ID you log into on your iPhone dictates what music. Can you put music from both Apple IDs on your same phone?
Yes. And that takes me to the second part of the question that you asked about that I avoided the answer to. I told you you could authorize up to 5 computers, but here's the longer sentence of that. You can authorize up to 10 devices, 5 of which can be computers. That's actually the real sentence. So 10 devices. That means if you only have 1 computer, you can do 9 iOS devices. If you have 3 computers, 7 iOS devices. But if you have 5 computers, you can only authorize 5 iOS devices. And when I say iOS devices, I mean iPods and iPhones, iPod Touches. The original iPod, like the iPod Classic, the ones with the scroll wheels, those don't count. You can do 100 of those if you want. All right?
So when you authorize, by authorize you mean that particular iPhone has to log into that iTunes or that Apple ID?
No, that's a good question. I don't.
Just the song itself.
Just the computer itself, and when the computer itself sees an iOS device connected, the computer, and I may be wrong on this, but I believe I'm right, the computer authorizes the device, and therefore back at the Mac store, it does a little subtraction of taking one more away from your long list of devices. But yes, it's absolutely possible. So, and you can move apps, all kinds of stuff. All right?
So how do you take apps off of 2 different Apple IDs and put them on one iPhone, say? If I want to take, pick from each one, is that easy to do when you have to plug it into one of the computers? You do it wirelessly?
What you need, no, you wouldn't do it wirelessly. What you'd need is a reservoir. You would need one iTunes library that holds everything. And for me, that's not this computer, it's another computer. So if I invited you over to my house for 2 weeks and I wanted to take some of your stuff and we're good enough friends that you're actually going to let me authorize, then I would take all that content that I'm interested in and put it into one iTunes library. And then I would sync my phone from that iTunes library. I can't go over to your house tonight, log into your account through my phone, download your stuff, and then leave. You used to be able to do that, but you can't do that anymore because Apple says that if you log out of your Apple ID on an iOS device, you cannot log in to another Apple ID for 90 days. They put a 90-day hold on it because kids were going up.
Once you log into it, you can't re-log into another one for 90 days.
I should say change. Like right now, you're Chris, and you've got you're logged in as Chris. But if you logged in as me, they would let you do it. But then they would warn you, once you've logged in as Scotty and take his stuff, you can't just log back into Chris immediately again. You can't switch Apple IDs, but once every 90 days. That's a better way of saying it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna pause on that for a second. I'm gonna jump back over to Daryl here because I took quite a bit of time. So Daryl, what was the?
Last night, Scotty, about 7:15, I got hit with about 100 bogus emails. And I'm starting to get hit again. Can you take a look?
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. I'll get back to you there in a second, Daryl. I went a little long on the answer. It's my fault. You should see a request to see your screen there, Daryl. Share your screen. Did you get that request? There we go. Okay. What that is, scroll down and let me see the content of that if you don't mind, Daryl. Okay. Do you know any of the people in that to field? Do any of those people ring a bell?
No.
Okay. All right. And the content below, that's completely irrelevant to you, I would assume?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Your email...
I had the same ending last night down here.
Yeah. Your email address is... Your email account has not been hacked or anything. It's that you are on a list of... You're on a spam list along with these other people, and here's what I would do if I were you. Of course, you don't necessarily want to say to mark this as junk, because if you actually send a message to someone, you will get this email back saying that it was undeliverable. Let's say if you send it to me instead of Scotty@salesconsulting.com, you send it at Scott@salesconsulting.com. It's going to get bounced back to you, possibly. So, and you're going to see that mail delivery subsystem error, which is important. That means that it didn't get back to you. So you don't want to just mark this as junk. But what you might do is find a key component within this and set a little rule to say, move this to the junk mail. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the key
But they're different.
Well,
everyone is a little different.
Oh, there's something in common. If we click through, we'll find something in common.
There's Black Planet. There's chickathome.com.
Yeah, but
There's Yahoo.
But the commonality, if you go down lower and you see the commonality is that watches handbags little section down there. So that's the common piece of this, is that little thing right there. So what you might do is create a little rule that says watches, wallets, rings, earrings, or maybe 3 of those things, and say if the body of the message contains this word, and this word, then move it to the junk folder.
All right, where is that?
Under your mail preferences, and then far right hand side, rules, top right hand area, rules. There you go. And then you create a rule for yourself, and you already know how to do these rules because you've got several there with colors. So you would say junk mail rule, and then you would say, instead of if any recipient, you would say if the content contains, or the body. Let's see. Yeah, content. And then contains, and then you would put in watches, wallets, rings.
Separated by a comma?
I don't know the answer to that. That's where you'd have to try it. You know, you'd have to play one or two around and see if it solves it. All right. You could also use, and you could look up, it says cutting edge design replicas. That might be a better identifier. You see down there? So you might want to compare those 3 or 4 emails to cutting edge design replica, see if that's in each one of those. So play around with that for a second, and I'll come back and see how you're doing. Emma Day, I wanted to check in on you. Are you still with us?
Yes.
Did you have another question we need?
Yes, I do. I've got a couple of questions.
All right, let's hear one.
If you find something on YouTube that you'd like to send to someone, what do you have to do to get the link?
Great question. I'll show you. I do this quite often, almost every single day. So I'm going to go to YouTube, and I'm going to send something to you right now, Emma Day. All right. There was a video that I was watching earlier today that I just thought was fantastic, and I don't remember what it was, but it doesn't really matter, I guess. So anyway, here's a video that I want to share with you, and I want to stop this because I don't want to see it. But I want to share this with you, and it's not just YouTube; it's any web page that you have. So let me pause that. So what I want to do here, Emma Day, is I'm going to go under the word Safari, and I want to go to actually File, and you see the word Share there. Okay, if you scroll down to Share, you have different things that you can do, and you can just select to email it. Now, when I select to email, a blank window pops up, and it drops the link of that in. Now, this is one more important thing to realize here, Emma Day. Sometimes you'll do that, and you'll see like the whole web page in your email. Notice over here in the top right hand area it says send web content as link only is what I have selected. But I could say as a web page. And if I said web page, it would put the web page in the email, and I don't want to do that. I want to send it as a link only. So if you send that as a link only, you drop that link in there. That's the easiest thing to do. And then just put it.
You can't send it to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely you can if you want to. It's just instead of sending it.
It said I had too much content in the page to do it. So I could select something small. Something with 500 words or pictures or whatever it was. And I picked this thing out and said I couldn't send something that long.
That's within maybe iPhoto. You're talking about iPhoto? I think you're talking about.
I don't know what it was, but I'll try it that way. So I just did Safari after I found it.
File. You're going to. Right. In Safari, you've gone to a web page, go File, Share, and then choose to email that page. You're not sending the video to them. You're sending them a link to the video. All right? Okay, I'm going to jump back over to Chris, and we'll come back. Chris, I'm sorry. What was your follow-up on that?
One thing was, apart from you as a resource, I find it difficult sometimes to look under any help pages within Apple or even support that really explain a lot of the so-called Apple ID rules and stuff. Does it just take a lot of looking around for that kind of content to get information about it?
The answers are there, and there are people that all they do, they make a living, all they do is write knowledge-based articles. So the problem is you have to find these articles, support.apple.com. Inside Apple, they're called K-base articles or knowledge-based articles. So it's very hard to find them, but oftentimes if you're doing searching, a lot of it is knowing what words to search. So let's say, I'm just going to make something up right now. Let's say I'm having a problem where iTunes is crashing in 10.1 under Lion, 10.7. So I'm going to, iTunes crashing 10.1. Well, I'm not going to use 10.1 because that might refer to the operating system. I'm going to say 10.7. All right. So now I've done a little search here, and you can see the top here. This is in discussions. Now the discussions and the discussions. These are all things that are created by people that don't work for Apple. These are just the discussion areas, and that's okay. But what you really want is you want the actual knowledge base article, the article that's written by Apple. So very oftentimes, however, the people that are in the discussions will put a link to those. So so that's the first thing that I look for is I scroll through the discussions to see if I find a link to the knowledge base articles.
So it's much better to search through Google rather than go on the Apple
Oh,
website.
yes. Oh, the Apple search is, yeah, the Apple search is absolutely horrible. And then, yeah, do that. Just choose your words wisely. And, you know, it surprises me, but there are people that well, I was going to say there are people that make a living. Apple pays them to just write K-base articles. Just that's all they do is they write these articles and how to do this, how to do that. A lot of them are just really ridiculous to you and me, like what the home button on the iPhone does, what the little button on the bottom. There's a K-base article on what that does and how many times you push it does different things. But then there are people that they just go home and all they do is sit in these discussion groups and they answer questions. And if you look at their level over on the left-hand side, oftentimes you'll see people that are like 47,000 questions they've answered, and usually those are pretty good sources. I mean, those are amazing sources. So that's another thing that I do. When I'm looking through things, I sparse out what I want to, who I want to answer or whose answer I want to look at. Let me see if I can find another one here. Here, look at this guy. Level 9, 66,000 points. This guy knows what he's talking about. Whatever. And if you dig down and you looked at his answers, eventually he's going to give you, a pretty good answer.
Excuse me, what did you search under Apple? I mean, support.apple.com?
No, I just use Google to do a search for something. So let's, yeah, like.
I was just curious because I didn't understand.
Well, I'll do something like Wi-Fi dropping, but because we had a question earlier. But I'm not only going to just put Wi-Fi dropping. I'm going to put Wi-Fi dropping, and I might use a comma and put Mac OS X, and I might put in Mountain Lion or Mountain. Now I'm going to do a search here, and here's a discussion group right here. And once I go into that discussion group, over here on the right-hand side, it's going to give me links to more discussions under the same thing. And, this person's done a very good job of asking their question. Their question is really detailed. But then you go through, and oftentimes you will get to somebody that says, well, here's what your problem is. These discussion groups are monitored by Apple as well. And Apple rewards people that ask or answer these questions by sending them little buttons and badges and stuff, and people are really into that. Oh, one other source here. Notice in this particular subject that we're talking about, there are 22 different pages. I'm going to jump to the last page. Often I'm going to say, well, what's the last page? Now, very often the last page, the question is evolved into 20 different other questions, and they're answering some other question. But usually the answer to the question is in with the first 3 or 4 pages. But it's interesting to jump to the last or the second to last and see what they're saying about it too. All right? Just whoever wants, yeah, Daryl, take it.
Merging contacts. I have 3 contacts that are called different things in my phone and 2 in my contacts list.
Yeah. That's a pretty easy question to answer. Here's what I would say we want to do. We want to open up your contacts in address book. And let me see if I can find my address book. I don't want to, give me a second. Let me see if I can. Okay. I don't want to show anybody's personal information. So here's my band. Here's the members of my band. And they wouldn't mind if.
Your volume's a little low.
Is it? Give me a second. Thank you. Let me see if I can increase that. And how's that? A little bit better?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, so here's a group of people that I've got in my contacts list, and I want to merge. Let's say they're all the same person, or 3 of them are the same person. So if I select one, I hold down the command key and I select another, and I hold down the command key and I select another. Now I've got those 3 people, right?
Right.
Now I'm going to go under the word card and select to merge.
Got it.
Now what that's going to do is that's going to take my friend Deb and it's going to put her as the official name. Then it's going to take my friend Mike and friend Will and it's going to merge where they live, their phone numbers and things, but it's going to take their names and it's going to put their names in the notes field. All right? So after you've done that, we're going to go back and look at the contact and then massage it a little bit and make sure that the address that, like maybe the person lived in San Francisco, New York, and Kalamazoo, Michigan, you want to make sure that you have the correct one that you really want to keep.
Okay, so it's going to take alphabetically, it's going to take the first one?
I believe it does, yes. I believe you're right, yes. All right?
Thank you.
Yeah, Chris, do you have any other follow-ups?
This is just a quick one. If you have an iPad that you've got multiple videos on and it's eating up all your storage, can you delete videos and get them off? But you can get them again off of your iTunes library, I assume, if you want to watch them again, right?
That's right. Now, in your case, if your daughter bought the content, you would have to sync it through iTunes. But if you bought the content, you can always go back into the iTunes store on your device. Let me see if I can find, there's my iTunes store. So let's say I own Django Unchained. I bought Django Unchained, but it's not on this device. But I want to watch it, and I'm out in wherever. So I'm going to go into, I think it's under More. The bottom right-hand corner, More, and then there's going to be a store, and then there's purchased items. Let me see if I can get all the way back to, there it is. So there from there, whatever you've purchased in the past, let's say I want to watch a movie, I go to my movies area, and I don't keep any stuff on this device, and I want to watch Cheetah Girls 2. I'm a proud owner of Cheetah Girls 2. There it is, and I select it, and I can then click that little cloud and download it. All right. All right? Okay, guys, I'm going to shut it down, and there's Django, which is an awesome movie, by the way. I'm going to shut it down. Thank you, guys, and I'll have this posted late this evening if I went too fast for anything. All right? All right.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
The organizer has ended the session, and this